What is going on, my friends? So a few of you were asking me to do like a rod and reel arsenal over the last couple days. I asked you guys to write some comments in the comment section yesterday of the video asking if there's anything specific that you wanted to see this week. So I brought up the 5 rods that I'm throwing, the 5 rods that I have on the boat at all times. We're going to go over these and then I'm going to tell you about a few of the other rods that I keep around and switch out throughout the year. I think that's what we're gonna do today. I was trying to get out and go fishing. I had some stuff to take care of this morning and then it just was absolutely pouring by the time I could get out. And then it stopped about 20 minutes ago, but I told my girlfriend I'd go climbing with her tonight. It's in like an hour. So there was no time to fish today. Definitely getting out tomorrow. Probably every day the rest of this week, to be honest. I'm itching to fish. Let's take a look at these rods. I'm gonna start with my spinning rod and then we're gonna work up to my favorite fishing rod that I have ever owned, actually. So let's go. First up, we've got the Daiwa STIs. So this is the best spinning rod that I've ever used in my life. It's so light, so sensitive, but it's also super expensive. I mean, super freaking expensive. I didn't pay full price for it. I probably paid 20% of the retail value of this. I got it from a really good friend. He hooked me up big time. This is a 7'1" medium light. I throw drop shots, shaky heads, and any sort of weightless lure on this, and it's phenomenal. I mean, it's the most sensitive rod I've ever owned. If I could have a whole lineup of Stises, I would, but that's also thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I have this rigged up with the Daiwa Fuego. This is a 4000. It's a little bit big for bass fishing, but when I was down in Florida a couple months ago fishing with my buddy Lawson, I needed something to get into those saltwater fish. So I got the 4000 and I figured I could just bring it home and slap it on this rod. No complaints. It's a little big. You could get away with a 2000 or like a 2500. That's definitely more the correct size for bass fishing. It would definitely be a bit lighter, but this works. Gets the job done. So I have this spooled up with 20-pound braid, and I'm usually gonna go to a 10, sometimes 12-pound leader. Sometimes I go down to 6. It just depends on what I'm fishing. But that is the spinning rod setup. That's my most finesse setup right there, and it's phenomenal. If you guys have the money to get a Stis or you find a good hookup on them, do it. They're amazing. Next up, this is the Kistler Helium LTA. I got this rod from another friend. It's something that you're gonna realize about a lot of my gear. I just accrue it. People just give me gear. I try my best to use things as much as possible, and like, it just falls into my lap. Good friends, you know, that are getting new gear and whatever, they're like, hey, do you want this rod? Or they'll just literally throw it in my truck. So huge thanks to you guys. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Homeboy, good buddy, T-Rev never fails, hooked me up with this one. This is a 7.6 medium heavy Kistler Helium, and this rod, he just gave it to me one day. He was like, here, take this, I don't need it, I never use it. I probably let it sit in my truck for like 3 or 4 weeks before I finally used it, and then I rigged it up and I instantly fell in love. You can literally use this for anything. I threw a frog on it, which was awesome. I threw a Texas rig on it, which was awesome. Carolina rigged with it. You can see that there's a lipless crankbait on it right now. You can throw top waters with it. It's an awesome rod. I really, really do like that. Longer, medium heavy, it just has so much power. It has a lot of tip to it as well, so casting is really easy. But yeah, phenomenal rod. And this one, and it's rigged up with a dealie too. I was gonna say, this is like my spinnerbait, dealie, crankbait, sometimes light Texas rig rod. It's a 7-foot medium heavy. I have it rigged up with the Lose magnesium and 15-pound fluoro. This is, I mean, it's a good, great all-around rod for whatever you want to do. 7-foot medium heavy. If anyone in general comes up to me and just says, hey, what size rod should I get? 7-foot medium heavy. You can do so much with it. It's the most versatile setup I think that you can possibly have. This one has caught so many freaking fish. And I mean, some giant catfish too. I think both of my like 40 or 30 plus pound catfish that I've caught or on this rod with 15-pound test, and on a dealie. Yeah, it was. Yeah, both. Crazy. This is a Skeet Reese Wright & McGill. I think it's a 7-foot medium, no, 7.6 medium heavy, I'm sorry. Yeah. So I bought this for deep cranking. It says it's made for swim baits and Carolina rigs, but it has a really moderate action to it. And my plan was to throw 6 and 10 XDs on this, and that's what I did for a really long time, and it works really well for that. It has the length to cast them really far. It has the power to like dredge them through the bottom of the lake in 20 feet of water. And it also doesn't have like a super fast tip on it, so it won't rip the hooks out of the fish's mouth. But I recently switched it over. I just threw this Abu Garcia with braid on it, and I was throwing top water on it. I just wanted something that I'd be able to throw like really big Sammies, and I mean, I have a Whopper Plopper rigged up on it right now. I also threw the frog around on it for a bit, but it's not heavy enough for a frog. You need something just a little bit heavier. I have a 7'6" heavy from Powell that I should be using for the frog. I'm definitely gonna switch it up. I meant to do it last time I was out, but just didn't get the chance to. And that brings us to the very last rod here, and probably the most requested rod that you guys want to know about. My very good friend Steven Johnson, who actually hooked me up with a couple different rods when I really started doing YouTube and started getting back into fishing, gave me this, and he just didn't like it. So he said, I think he just was so busy and not able to fish, he just wanted me to have it. But this is the Aris Nano Fusion rod. This is one of the coolest rods I've ever seen. It's a 7'6" extra heavy. I have a swim bait on it right now because I was doing some mystery tackle box stuff. It's a Gamtrail Junior, but this is like the perfect flip and stick. I love it. It's on the light side. It's got a little tip heaviness to it, but I kind of like that too, because when you're flipping a jig, if something's too light, I just feel like it's gonna fly out of my hand. I like having just a little bit extra weight. Also, it has this carbon graphite style handle to it. And you can see, I mean, it's an old rod. I've used this since I started YouTube, and I've used it on almost every single trip since. The only time I don't bring it with me is if I need to change the tip out on it because the ceramic fell out. And that's happened a few times. But this is by far my favorite rod. I have a Daiwa Tatula. It's the 8-to-1 with 20-pound fluorocarbon on here. It's just my favorite flip and stick I've ever used. This thing is awesome. And also, little story behind Aris. I remember when Ace and I kind of were really getting into fishing back in high school, and we were like 15, 16 years old. We were going down to Florida, and we got a couple different fishing magazines, and I remember seeing this crazy purple rod with a graphite handle like that. And I just thought, man, that's the coolest freaking rod I've ever seen. I want it, like I need it. And I didn't really hear about it for a while longer, and then my buddy Steven got this. I fished it a few times, and I was just like, man, that is so cool. But those are my 5 rods for you guys. Pretty sweet. I'm never gonna stop fishing this Aris. I absolutely love this rod. By far my favorite, and it's definitely the most asked about rod. Anytime I fish it, anytime I post it in a video, people are like, hey, what is that red rod? Yeah. Aris Nano Fusion. I don't even know if you can buy, you can't buy this one anymore actually, I don't think. Yeah, those are the 5 rods that I've been fishing all summer long. So I do have a couple of other rods that I throw through in the rotation depending on what time of year it is. I have a 6'8" medium moderate action Powell endurance rod that is awesome, and that's like square bills, jerk baits, and just anything that needs like a little bit slower tip action to it. And I got that along with one of Powell's mistake rods. It was like a 6'10" medium heavy. It's like another light jig or light Texas rig rod that's really good. And both of those kind of come back out like in the spring. I'm about to bust out the endurance again just to throw liplesses around on that this fall, and those are good. I also, as I was saying earlier, have a 7.6 heavy that I'm going to be throwing that frog on. That Skeet Reese rod is just not enough power for it, but that pretty much covers it. I like to keep things simple. I don't have, you know, hundreds of rods and hundreds of reels. As a matter of fact, I think I only own like 6 or 7, 8 reels maybe. And that, I know, may sound like a lot to you guys, but when you're fishing every single day and fishing for different fish in different places and different styles of fishing, there's a lot of switching things up. So if anyone is watching this from a reel company and you're looking to bring someone on, shoot me an email. That hopefully answered some of the questions for you guys that were asking about the rods and reels that I throw. Remember to get out there and just try out a bunch of different rods. It doesn't matter what you're throwing, whether it's an ugly stick or a Daiwa STIs. If you're catching fish on it, it's really the only thing that matters, right? So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for me, and I'll see y'all in a couple days.